Hello, hello,
Hi,
hello.
everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hawaiian Mint recap.
We're so excited to be here.
So
We made it to
excited.
the episode 3.
Episode 3
We
down.
had those promos of those stairs, and that was scary.
It was pretty scary,
Was
right?
scarier seeing them in person. But first of all, we are the Hawaiian Mint team.
Yes. I'm
Uh,
Ricky
I'm Cesar. We're the best dressed team in this season of
in
The Amazing Race.
season 36 of The Amazing Race.
We're just so happy that it's this leg was awesome. Reliving it was really cool, seeing it. And the fact is that we have the chance to see it at a bar with Double Dutch
Yeah,
team,
last week was really great. We got to
Sean,
see it with
Michelle,
Sean and Michelle,
and
Kishori, and
Rohan.
Rohan was there.
So we had a
Yeah.
great time.
And past racer Brooke was there as
Yeah,
well, cheering
yeah.
us on.
We're so excited. We've been trying to keep up with all the podcasts. Everyone that is like showing something, it's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's been great. And doing the lives have been really great. So everyone that's logged in, thank you so much for making out. We saw Vicky and Laura and Rebecca. Thanks so much for joining us. And it's kind of fun to do it live. We kind of get some more energy with it.
On that note, you can tell that we're not at our apartment.
We're not in our apartment.
So we're traveling right now. Sorry for the time, for the
time
place.
change is a little different.
Yeah, but still, we wanted to be here. We wanted to share. We wanted to keep it going. If you haven't checked our previous recaps, go watch them.
Go back to our YouTube page and you can check out our first 2 episodes.
If you like them, like. If you want to see more, subscribe.
And we'll
we're gonna be doing this for as long as we made it on the race. And I mean, should we do it if whatever happens?
I think we should continue to recap all the episodes. I think it'd be fun.
We just love sharing those little details on like what happens during the race and whatever we can get from the rest of our forecast.
Yeah.
And just like honestly, I think the best part, that's something that helped us a lot as we were preparing for the race, is like tips for future racers that are not specifically like that, but we have this section on our podcast, on our recaps, just like we would love like if something that what we share helps future racers. And like to everyone that is curious what happened behind the scenes, drop your questions on the chat. We'll see them. We'll try to answer them as long as we don't get in trouble.
Yeah. No, I don't think we'll get in trouble. I think it was really cool for us, like before we went on, to just kind of have that wealth of knowledge from past racers. So we want to pay it forward.
Yeah. So without saying, we made it to Guatapé. So we traveled from Puerto Vallarta to Watape, Colombia.
Yeah.
Watape is just like this pretty cool little town.
It was really awesome.
Again, I feel like these 3 legs have been extremely colorful.
So like colorful.
Watape, like from the preview and everything, like they have like these cool zocalos that are like engraved. You would say like carved.
Yeah, carved. Yeah,
carved like sections that tell the story of the town, who lives there and everything. So that is just something that made it really pretty. But the first thing, the Peñol.
I know, the first thing right off the bat.
Whoa,
those have stairs, to sprint up the steps. Well, maybe not sprint up the steps.
First of all, these like, remember, like this was a COVID season, so we have our restrictions, and with that comes that staggered starts. And this is the first episode that you get to see that we started 4 teams. 4 teams?
3, 4, and 4.
3, 4, and 4.
With 15-minute increments.
So the 15 minutes can be good or bad. 15 minutes, sometimes like if you make it ahead of the other teams for a while in a leg, you can get a head start for maybe hours, if so. In this case, it's only 15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes. So in this case, it was kind of, I felt like a tight race, because by the time we got up,
the next team we
started coming back down, the next team started. So we kind of all were cramped up.
We saw them like as we were going down the stairs, they were going up, and it's just like it's even more scary because you're like now grouped. Pretty much you're seeing 7 teams together. But anyways, those stairs, we saw those stairs. Thankfully, I've been training. Like I train for this. Part of my training to go on the Amazing Race.
He really trained for this.
Was stairs. So I was trying to do it at least 3 times a week. I was doing 1600 steps.
We're doing a lot
in 30 minutes just going up. And as you see, we have a clicker. So we'll talk about the clicker later. We'll talk about like why we did it and all of that. But pretty much it was, as a fan, you know that you might go upstairs and then they might ask you how many steps are there. So we wanted to make sure that we had that number.
I think it was just Well, there were two reasons why we did it.
Yeah.
One was because we wanted to really count and see, like, okay, if they ask us at the top, like, how many steps did you just climb? Or later in the leg, you know, how many steps did you climb up? We wanted to have an exact number. And then also for me, it was a way for me to kind of like distract myself from.
And we will get deeper on that for tips for future racers, because it's really interesting how we got to that conclusion. But like that, we're gonna see later. So pretty much we started going up. We started counting. We started with Rod and Leticia and Derek and Chalisa.
Yeah.
So really strong teams that we have seen physically be strong. So we just kept going. We kept our rhythm. We kept
a nice steady pace. I don't think we didn't really stop at all.
I have to say that I was extremely surprised that we were first. Like that. Wow. Like it just.
Yeah.
Like
we kept a steady pace. And one thing that helped us keep that pace, props to you. You took my bag.
I mean, it was
about
halfway, a third.
2/3 of the way up, I started to slow down, and he was still like booking it. And he was like, just give me your bag. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's fine. That's
and
fine.
And that's
it
actually kept us.
It's also a conversation that we had previous to the race.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was like, we are not going to be proud of just being like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I need help.
So it's like,
and that was okay.
And it was okay. And it was like, okay, if I feel like I can help you, or you feel like you can help me, why not?
Just ask for help. That's okay to ask for help.
Yep. And that helped us at the end.
And it kept us at a consistent pace to get up quicker.
And we made it up. There was another tower that you can, like, we knew as well. Like, we knew that we needed to go all the way up. Like, there was no doubt.
So there was like the main concrete steps, and then there was an initial like larger platform, and then there was another,
which was large. Like
tower.
It could be anywhere, but we were like, no, let's just go up, check, and then if not, we go down and keep watching. And the other thing is, like, when you have other teams following you, right? That was most likely they're just gonna keep following you wherever you go. They're not gonna like go by themselves. But that said, we made it to the clue, and then we ripped it. We see that the first option is cooking, and we have bandeja paisa or yipao. The moment that we saw bandeja paisa, we were like, okay, let's just read through both of them. We know that bandeja paisa is going to be ours, but we don't want to make a decision that.
Yeah, I think we always.
We have learned.
We learned from the second leg that always read the clue thoroughly, and that was something we made sure to do, even though we knew we were going to pick that one. We were like, okay, let's make sure that was the correct decision. And we read through both descriptions, and
we ended up heading downstairs last, but we were sure that what we were doing was the right thing for us.
Yeah.
And then we just keep going down. Like, we made it down.
Well, it's interesting. Even though we made it down last of the steps, our group, we were the first to the boats.
So we started asking for directions. Same time,
didn't really matter.
We just were the three of us were like as a pack. So we started running towards the.
Yeah. Well, here's what's kind of interesting.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Peter. So before we started running up the steps, Derek and Shalisa and Rod and Leticia said, like, hey, why don't we try and stick together? And we were like, okay, we didn't say okay. We said, let's see what happens. We're kind of in the mindset of like, we're going to run our race. And if it's helpful, then we'll take the help, but we're going to try and feel it out. So we get up, we come back down. Derek and Shalisa actually waited for us. The four of us stayed together and we got directions.
And we just started getting that way. Like, we were following.
Rod and Leticia went to go get directions on their own. Derek, Shalisa, and the two of us got directions. We left and we started to, take off, and the four of us had the same directions.
Yeah. So now we were heading to the piers. We know where we was, like, it was to the side. So we just made it to the boats, and we ended up making it first. We paid for them. And then first thing we did was just running towards the captains and being like, "Hey, who's the fastest?
Yeah, who's got the fastest boat?"
Nobody answered. I have to say. And another thing,
everybody just stood there like.
But we got like a little sparkle from one of the captains, and we were like, "You like why?" Because at least you want to see that if they're excited about it, if they're like you, there might be a little bit more wiggle room of being like, "Hey, can you go a little faster? Can you like?"
Yeah, if they show a little bit of personality, you might be able to get them.
We have to say that on the clue, it did say you cannot switch boats. So once you pick, and we saw that affecting Danny and Angie. Why? Because they got on the boat and the boat didn't start it, but it was stated on the clue that if you got on one, I know. Rebecca, we also felt like for them, we didn't know.
No.
And that's the other thing. Like watching it with other teams is like, how much you did it? Like,
you know what I think it was? Maybe because they pay the boat driver. So
no,
I know we paid first, but maybe that boat driver gets paid by the company. So if you switch, there's like confusion. I don't know. I always feel like there's a reason behind stuff
there's
like
one more
that.
reason. There was one more reason. We picked a captain, right, by their energy. But I guess you could pick a boat as well. And all the boats were different. Yeah, if you see them, all of them are different.
I didn't even.
So I think that's as well could be a tip for a future racer is like be aware of your surroundings. We mentioned it. Maybe we could have gone to the boat that looked the fastest instead to the captain that looks like the more exciting.
Yeah, but if you don't know boats,
that's it.
How would you know? Like, my grandfather owned a boat, but unless you know what boat engines are or the size of boats, like you wouldn't know. So that's kind of a hard tip. Like, look at the boat engine.
I don't know. It's still maybe someone knows boats. So
yeah.
So we made it to the boat. We get on the boat. We're super excited. And at this point, something as well that we had talked previous to the race was we're gonna take the time to enjoy. Because if we have heard previous racers said something, was that they were just go, and you forget. And at this point, we were on the front of the pack. We have a little bit more wiggle room. We asked the driver how long it was going to be. It was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was like a good 20 minutes.
So we were just like, what else? Like, what can we do? We can reread our clue, which we did, and we can enjoy this time and just like enjoy the view, take it in.
Oh,
but so I do have to say, like, once we read the clue, we saw that it was bandeja paisa. We have a really close friend from Colombia. We have eaten bandeja paisa.
Yes.
So we know, like, we have seen it at least. And my first thought was it has rice, it has beans. If we have to cook the beans, it's going to be 2 hours. 2 hours detour. So maybe we have to reconsider the ipao.
Yeah, but that's true.
If there was rice, we needed to start with the rice.
Yeah. So something that we did on the boat was, yes, we enjoyed, but because we knew what went into a bandeja paisa, was like, we went through, okay, the first thing was the rice. We knew that we had to get the rice on, and we had to see what the beans, if they were dried beans, we were going to have to switch because it's going to take too long.
Yeah.
But thankfully we got there. There were canned beans. So easy.
Yeah. So I mean,
the first thing, like, rice gets on because it takes the longest. So we went through all the ingredients that we could remember,
that things that we can remember.
And we ordered them, and we came up with,
just a plan. At least to start with the rice.
Before we even arrived, of everything that we know. Thankfully, we have a chef who does this and plans things ahead of time. I'm also very good in the kitchen, so.
I said it over there. Like, I do freelance and I work with a catering company, which is awesome because I always work in different places that might not have a kitchen. So getting there, setting up, like the setup was there. So I just need to figure it out, like which burners, what to put on each. And I think that was pretty much it. We divide and conquer, and like we just focus on what we had to do. But to that point, we made it to the pier. We ended up being the first ones. We asked for directions, and we made it to the street that we needed to. So now all the stations were split between two streets that look like an L, I guess.
Like
29, street 29. So you have to look for the Zócalo that you got assigned. Ours have like some sailboats.
Yeah, it was like a little card in our clue with
three sailboats,
specific picture. You saw in the episode, like everybody had like a different. We had a sailboat.
Quick note over there: we make sure that we draw that picture before we have to give it out back to the producer.
Yeah.
Just to have all the notes.
Well, that's actually interesting because something they didn't show, when Cesar was coming down the 800 steps, he's
there
actually
were not 800.
720, whatever.
Yeah.
He was actually sketching and drawing and taking notes as he's coming down the steep steps. Like literally like face down in notes, and he's coming down steps.
Ricky was like, careful, don't fall.
I was like, can you take those notes like at another time? He's like, no, I'm good. Because
you
taking
have
notes.
You don't have if you're gonna, you don't know if you're gonna have the time. But anyways, that happens. We made it. We made it. We found our Zocalo on a house. We found our station. We started cooking, and everything worked well. I mean, we started right away. Yeah. Let's say like maybe 10 minutes after, we saw Vinny and Amber. They were on the next.
Yeah, that was
so
really
I'm pretty
surprising.
sure their boat was really fast.
That driver,
which is awesome. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome for them, and credits to them, because like they did great on this leg. Then we saw Derek and Shalisa that their station was across, as you could see on the show. Yeah. And now we're gonna show you. We got the card with the instructions.
True. Yeah.
From the cooking, from the bandeja paisa. So the tricky part with it was that it's the very first thing that said was cook the rice, right? What you cannot see there is, well, what you see on top, it says recipe is per serving. You're so stressed that most likely, and that happened, I believe, to Derek and Shalisa, they started reading the ingredients. One cup of cooked rice, but it was per plate. You needed to make 3 plates. So I bet they only cook 1 cup of rice, which would be like half a cup.
It's a lot of rice for one serving.
Still, like I believe that they might have cooked only 1 cup of rice, and the rice takes about 20 minutes. So pour them, like that might have,
because that could set you back if you're not.
And we were about to do it, but I was like, Ricky, let's just read to the recipe and then we start. So once we read, we knew that we have to make 3 cups of rice, and that's how we manage. And like that would save us. Yeah. To only do it at one time and get 1 check and get out of there. I think, again, is reading, understanding, and we learned that the previous leg. Yeah. So that helped us.
The instructions were very helpful. And, they also had like a picture guide.
It's funny because at some point in one of their exits, the interview, Anthony and Bailey were like, yeah, I think the recipe was in Spanish. Like, I mean, it did have words in Spanish.
It might have felt foreign.
But again,
if you're not a good cook.
And if you're so stressed, like, I think that's what happened. But
it's
just
true. Well, it's hard as well because like they give you a station and it's like, you're not really in a kitchen. You're just at a fold-up table.
Something that I'm remembering as well is like it did say that there were limited extra or additional ingredients in case you messed up something. So we're like, let's just not mess up, because if we run out of our additional ingredients, then we might have to move to Jipao. Yeah, because that's what happened. Like when you have a specific rules like that, if you are not able to work with what you have, and if you run out of something, then there's no way of finishing that detour. Then you have to move to the other one. And we saw that with other teams with the eggs, but thankfully eggs are easy to get. Yeah. And that was.
And we also divided the recipe in certain things. Like you handled all of the meat. I did the eggs, the avocado, the rice, the beans, the arepas.
I think you cooked the plantains, no? The peeled plantains.
I peeled the plantains.
I was just focusing on the meats and everything that needed to be cooked.
So there definitely was
different plantains. I cooked the plantains, so it was just like
there was a lot. There was a full divide. I know there were some comments in other recaps. They were like, "Oh, everything was kind of like one-sided heavy." I was cooking, okay? I did rice, beans, arepas, plantains.
We were both working. We have 4
eggs.
The rice, you cook the rice.
I did a lot.
But it was.
But he did end up doing all of the plating. Everything was prepped and ready because the presentation was ultimately what really mattered.
One more thing as well, as you saw in the instructions, you needed to warm up the beans. Like as well, it could be something that you might just. There's always someone checking. There's not only the abuelas judging, but like there's always a producer or someone around that is like checking that you follow every single step on that thing. Yeah. I want to make a quick note for the Jipao detour. It looked extremely hard. So pretty much talking to other teams, it was that actually tried it. It was really hard, yes, but it could be something that if you do 2 items at a time. Now they're all like piled together, so you have to really have the visual on how everything, because it had to be exact replica, and they had at least 30 items and like things that were hanged. They needed to be hung on the right position, so it just felt really, really overwhelming. And I think that's what like pretty much nobody, like two teams attempted and nobody really finished it. So that happens. Anyways, we just wanted to explain a little bit more what needed to be done. Once everything was packed, as long as it didn't fail and look exactly the same, they were good to move. But it just definitely was really hard, especially after climbing and going up and down. There's no elevator on that mountain. There's no elevator. You go up, you go down. I don't know how they have all the things to digest sail upstairs. It was really hard. Well, we finished our plates. We finished our 3 plates. I'm grabbing all 3, and Ricky's like, yeah, if you drop those.
If you drop, I was like, give me one of those plates, because if you drop it, like we have to start over.
We made it to the abuelas. They were so sweet.
It was really cool.
They look at it and they were all excited, but they start like examining everything, making sure that everything was there. We were really worried about that they were going to try it. I think there was no specifics on that. So we were salting.
Didn't know what. Yeah, we were salting everything. Like everything was like. We tasted it. We tasted some stuff. Like
we were making sure that everything was to perfection. So we brought it there, and we got our thumbs up from the abuelas, and we were ready to move on. We got our next clue. We were it over there. We stopped really, really fast. We saw Ivan and Melissa for a little. We're just like, hey, just make sure that everything looks like extremely golden on the meat, like that everything looks nice.
Yeah, we did stop by.
Again, we just stop by would be.
Okay, we ran past.
we walk past instead of running, and we were just like, just make sure, like we love them, and like at that point we were starting as well to think like, who do we want to move forward that could be a possibility of just like helping out a little. Like we have seen this with Danny and Angie, and it's just like starting to broad a little bit more of our minds. As Ricky said, like is think as you go, and I think in Ivan and Melissa, we saw that we wanted like to open a possibility there. Yeah. So then we keep going. At this point, we're heading to the Cordero de Watape to look for a tuk-tuk. So we stop, we ask for directions, and we start running.
Yeah, everything was actually pretty close in that little town center.
Yes. Like I mean, it's a really small
from the
town.
dock. Yeah, from the dock to the cooking was like a 3-minute run. Like I think it was a 5-minute or 6-minute walk.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have been running after that. I said it like our legs.
No,
our legs were like
we ran. We ran from the dock to the street.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
But we had 20 minutes to sit and relax.
Like, we were ready to like 20 minutes.
We were ready to run.
We did enjoy it, but my legs were like still on fire.
We ran. And then it was another like 3 or 4 minute quick run
to the tuk-tuks. Once we found him. Now we learned, try to go for the first one on the line.
So we went to the first one, and then
we asked if he knew, like the driver, just to make sure that the driver knew where we were heading. We didn't want to get like spurled, especially in a place that we see like a little bit more secluded, and we only have one tuk-tuk. So we asked the driver if he knew.
That was something when we were prepping for the show, we said, anytime we are in a tuk-tuk, a taxi, or someone else is driving, we're going to ask, do you know where this is?
Check if they have gas.
Check if they have gas.
Yeah, and that's pretty much like the basics. Like once they're good with that, you can go. So he said yes. We got in it, and like we started going, and it was pretty much another 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, it was a long.
Again, being on the front of the pack is just a different feeling. We had the chance to talk to some of our castmates, and like it's a different feeling that thankfully in this leg, like on how we felt on this leg, especially on this leg, that it was like so tiring. So we were like, that for us was the perfect day.
Yeah, it felt good.
For other people was like a nightmare. So
yeah, because going up, there's like this beautiful view. You got to look around. It's surrounded by water. I think the history of that is that the whole thing was like flooded with water. That whole city is that what Phil said?
So they flooded, like it was purposely it was purposely flooded all Watape. There was a town over there that they have to flood in order to get some energy for Medellin. That is like an hour and a half, 2 hours from there. So that was the reason. We have a question here.
Okay, Morrison is asking, the episode makes it look like you were so far ahead of the other teams. Did it feel like it when you were racing? So when we were at the cooking, we didn't really know where everyone else was in their cooking.
Because it was spread as well.
Like everybody kind of staggered in. We just knew that we had like a good at least 10-minute head start.
Yeah.
And we knew how efficient we were with our cooking. So the cooking took us at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the rice takes,
it
20
was pretty
minutes.
much the moment that the rice was done, we were ready to play.
We were out. So we knew we had at least, we pretty much kept our 15-minute window. We just didn't know.
I think we noticed it a little better once we made it to the And just one last quick note on the cooking. We have like gas stoves, and that day was cloudy and overcast and raining. So some of the windy as well. So the flame were like flickering and that like, it just
so
take
the cook time was a little hard.
Yeah.
So
like that was a quick note. But like
the cooking was hard because you're on like this little gas burner. It's like, in the wind. But yeah, when we got to the coffee farm, we were of course the first to arrive. We got the clue. And then as we were running towards the envelope, to the clue box, I was like, Ricky, wait, we didn't take notes of the color of our tuk-tuk. So we ran back before the guy left. Yeah, we quickly jotted down the color and what the tuk-tuk looked like.
Yeah, so that was just like to have a little bit of the notes. We opened the clue and it says, who's feeling picky? We thought like we knew in a way that it was going to be coffee related.
Something with coffee. I mean, you're at a...
And so far, what our strategy there was like, okay, I have done one, Ricky has done one, let's go back to me. Like it seems neutral. Either of us could do it. Let's just start checking. Because for whoever doesn't know, you have to do, if you make it, as far as you make it, like try to keep... No, actually, if a team makes it all the way to the end, you have to have a 50% of roadblocks done. So if you don't prepare yourself, like for that point...
Yeah, you have to be pretty much, you have to be even.
Yeah, if everyone starts doing more and then someone else has... Hi there, hi Lynette. So if someone has many roadblocks that they have done, then the next person will have to just do whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
And like you have no choice. Like, so if Cesar were to do like all of the like roadblocks at the beginning, I'd be stuck doing all of the ones at the end.
And if there was a cooking, for example, like Ricky will have to do it, like while I might be a little faster.
Right.
That was just a little explaining.
Cesar decided to do feeling picky.
Thankfully, it wasn't raining that hard because we ran the same hill as like Double Dutch and everyone else.
So you saw in the episode, like it started like raining. We had arrived before the rain had even started. So we kind of lucked out.
Thankfully for that, because like I was running down the steps.
We ran down the steps that everybody else was like crawling down.
We made it down and I get a full explanation on like how, like you have to remember this is a real farm with real coffee beans and like they don't want to waste coffee beans. It's just like going through like the coffee cherries and they tell you which ones to pick. Like you have to be careful and like it's not just going and shaking and like getting everything and like leaves and everything because then you damage the plant. And they were like really cautious with that. So they gave us the basket, the little hat, and then that's when Ricky's like, "Qué bonito."
Yeah.
So something as well that we found super interesting on watching other teams is what Beanie mentioned. So Beanie was able to get ahead of so many teams because he said like work with two hands. And like just rewatching it, like it was like, yeah, that was exactly as well what we did. Just like putting it down, working with two hands.
Yeah, you got to get in there.
Because if you're only like holding the basket and working with one, you really like, I mean, you can double the time if you do it that way.
Yeah.
So we found it really interesting that Vinny mentioned it because it was just like definitely the fastest way of doing it. It wasn't slippery, it was a hill, but if you like tuck it in, there's the chance that it might fall.
Yeah,
but you just have to be careful and like having a little bit of that extra time was...
you can even see in this photo like it's steep.
Another,
like, you're not just like sitting on flat
another
ground.
thing that I noticed, and like Ricky mentioned it as well, so we were thinking the same thing. It's just like we were the first thing there. There were some bushes or coffee plants closer to where the stations were. So we just like I just stayed around there, like, and I was picking whatever was the closest. I was like, thankfully for that is like it was a benefit of being the first ones there. And it was like
stayed nice and close.
Yeah,
and you
just
didn't have to go all the way up.
Thinking it that way, like getting it there, and like I grew up in Mexico, so like knowing kilos and pounds, just like that was helpful as well.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have known like
I mean, it's
like
2.2 about like so.
Yeah, because I can make that conversion in my head.
So I was just thinking.
I wouldn't have known exactly. Okay, like 1 kilo. What's 1 kilo? I probably would have had to make more trips than you would have.
I mean, once I did my first trip and saw how much I got, I was like, okay, I pretty much need to double this.
I think
I only did like three. I think there was only 2 trips
I only did 2 trips.
And it was just husking it and waiting whatever was husked already, and that's when, like, it was really straightforward.
And while you were picking and doing stuff, I just was enjoying the sun. No, I was actually like taking very detailed notes as I do.
As if it was the station.
And I brought binoculars as one of my gadgets, which I used multiple times on this leg. One to just like look at the view. I was like checking out the stairs as we were on the boat. And because I was far away from the stations, I actually used them to like write down like what the bag that he was using looked like, the numbers on the grinder.
You never know.
I was just taking notes on everything. I was like, who knows what they're gonna ask? And he's busy doing stuff. So it's like, okay, there's this many judges really down there. Like there's, they had the baskets for the green ones, and they had the husks and all this stuff. And I was like, just trying to be super detailed about everything.
Yeah.
Probably I don't know. I'm just sitting there like twiddling my thumbs. And
so, I mean, we did that. I went there. Something that I found funny that as well wasn't shown. I throw all the coffee the coffee beans inside the machine. I'm still like going like dun, 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 dun. Well, I was turning the wrong side, so nothing was coming down.
You cranked it like a good like 10 times.
Here comes the whistle, or what's the song?
Here, pop goes the weasel.
Pop goes the whistle. So I went all pop the whistle, and nothing is happening.
Nothing's happening.
I'm like, oh, okay. I just realized I'm like turning the wrong way.
That's okay.
Yeah, it happened.
You figured it out.
Yeah, so I got that, and then once I got it, the scale went down, and as the scale went down on the table, there was this clue, and it was like Expedia clue. Once you flip it, it says fine fill in Casa Loma, Finca Carretera.
Yeah, right? Which is the farm that
the farm that we are. So now with that, we have a little map that we want to show you. And with this as well, like why? Because that's another question that we have seen around happening a lot. Is like why so many teams ended up in the mat at the same time. So what we see over here is just like where the clue box was. The red line is the way that we went down. The little hand with the coffee is where we were, like the stations were for the coffee. And then everything else that you see on this picture is pretty much the finca. You have to remember that it's uphill. So now,
it's all like huge hill.
Then the other dotted line pretty much
is the
green dotted line is what we went, the way we went. So we went around. First of all, I first was telling Ricky, let's go by the water. I'm pretty sure Phil is going to be by the water.
Yeah, and I said to him, wait, why would it be down by the water? All of the pit stops are usually in a scenic location, somewhere where you're going to see something beautiful, a beautiful building, an iconic location, so something that you're going to see like, something iconic or landscapers, something beautiful.
And we arrived on top, so we saw that view. So Ricky was like, most likely it's going to be.
I said, it's going to be
up there.
I said, it's not going to be down by the water. It's going to be up.
So we turn around and we start following this path. I twisted my ankle right there.
You did twist your ankle.
And Ricky was just like helping me. I was like literally just like, at this point we haven't seen anyone, but we start hearing like voices somewhere. Like, I don't know if it was the pressure. I don't know if actually
no, there were voices. So when we got the clue, we grabbed our bags. When we started down the path, we heard the voices at the top of the hill, and people were coming down. So when Cesar finished the roadblock, that's when the teams were just arriving.
So we decided to go the other way, this other route, because we were like, if actually Phil is up there, we don't want teams to be able to like finish fast and like, maybe follow.
Cesar and Ricky went back up. We're gonna go,
which is what happens a lot of the times. Like we just follow other teams. So, anyways, we went that way, and we ended up making it back up front. And we were just looking around, all the way back up that ramp that you see Vinny and Amber pushing their cart. We made it. It was hidden behind the pool.
Ooh.
So as you can see it on the map,
Yeah.
like there was as well like 2 levels. So the pool was up here, and where Phil was, like it was.
Yeah,
it was like hidden. You could not
like
see
if you
it.
were standing on the pool deck, you wouldn't even see Phil until you were like over
on
the edge.
Yes. So it was really, really hidden
Yeah,
as
it
well.
was hidden.
We found him. We jumped up there. And
Yeah.
wow, what a feeling!
Oh my
What a
God.
feeling! Because at that point, unless we made something bad that we didn't know or that like we had done,
No, I felt really confident.
I was
that
really
we had
confident
like a
as well.
clean like leg. We didn't. I knew we didn't mess anything up. So when we ran down that little hill,
it was,
I was
we,
like,
we were so
oh my
emotional.
God, oh my
we
God.
were starting crying, and Phil hasn't even tell us anything. He's like, "Welcome to Colombia," and that like Watape, and like we start crying, and like of course Phil starts saying things like, I don't know, like what you're thinking, and that's when Ricky's like, I
I'm
hope
like,
you're
come on,
gonna
Phil,
tell
just tell us we're first.
And he did.
And he did.
And he did. And like feeling of that, wow, because he's like already being on a like on this dream, like that has happened forever. And then now listening Phil saying you're team number 1.
I know. It's like
yeah.
it's really like, are you
and
crying?
even saying
He's
it right
crying.
now. No,
He's
not
crying.
yet, not yet.
Go
not
ahead,
yet.
Let it out, let it out. No, it was really like, it was just a magical, stressful, fantastic, amazing, exhausting day. You know, you just don't.
And with that view, it's
the
just
view.
Yeah.
It was really
cool.
special. And then he was
really
like,
nice.
"You're going to Cape Town, South Africa," and I was like,
awesome. Then swimming sharks. Ricky doesn't
swimming
want
with
to.
sharks.
Seeing penguins.
Penguins, yes. I don't know about the sharks, but we'll see.
A fun thing, as we were like done with the pit stop, we start walking away, and we see like we had to hide.
We had to hide because
behind
there were other teams.
The pole, because there were other teams arriving. So we were just like they were like,
arriving to get the clue.
Arriving to get their clue, yes.
Because that's how close the pit stop was to the clue box. So like people were arriving in their tuk-tuks.
So we have to hide so they wouldn't see like
we had to like tuck behind like a wall so they wouldn't see us, which is like, yeah.
Oh, something that I forgot on the map, and like pretty much explanation. Oh. It was just a lot of teams went down by the water, or like they went like up around. So that happening and being so close, I think some of them started following others, and like that's what at the end we ended up seeing 3rd to 8th place on this. Is because
fourth. Derek and Shalisa weren't with other people.
Weren't they?
I thought it was 4th.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
8th
4th
with like all clumped, because you know they ended up finishing together, and then
because everyone was just like looking for the pit stop everywhere. So once someone found it, everyone else started going that way. Mm-hmm. So that's why we ended up seeing everyone. But the finca itself was really big, so Phil could be anywhere, and that is the thing. Like we know for sure some other teams went down, so it was just finding Phil. And once that happened, everyone arrived there. It was a really cool leg to watch. We're really sorry for the twins because they did struggle a lot on this one, but we love them. Like we like
They're
seeing
so
it.
Awesome.
Another shout out to
I think honestly, if they had one more leg, they would have figured out that like being decisive, like it's just sticking to their guns. I think they would have, like you learn from the previous leg, like you read your clue, like don't forget the balloons, like you learn from each thing, and that's what their lesson would have been. And I think they would have never made that mistake again. And so it's the first leg you make your little mistake and then you learn from it. And I think
they just didn't have that one. But my other shout out was to Sean and Michelle, like Sean's fear of heights. And like he ended up doing it, and like that was really cool and powerful. And like watching the show with them as well was really nice. Just seeing their struggles and like how they got it, like, and they made it to the next leg, which is awesome. So that was pretty much this leg. We're super excited. We have one more thing. Well, before our tips for future racers,
you want to see?
I want to see my drawings. Let's see my drawings. Because
we always
awesome.
Our detailed notes of everything that we do.
So now, please leave us in the comments and in the chat if you think
how accurate do you think
he doesn't even
we
have
did.
ears. He doesn't even have ears.
No, he doesn't even have a head. He just has 2 dots and a
It's
giant mustache.
flying mustache, but that's my
I
drawing.
think it's pretty good.
Again, we didn't do it at the pit stop. Like we tried to remember
Yes.
as much as we could.
And he was holding a little coffee grinder.
Yeah, so we did remember that. We didn't remember the mustache.
And he had a machete, right?
He had a machete on the other side. But yeah, that's our little
So
drawing.
funny. Oh my gosh.
Just to share a little bit of what made it.
Oh,
to
and
our,
what did he say? Bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos a Watape y bienvenidos a Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah. We were writing everything. We were trying to take
Yeah.
notes as much.
Look, and you can see like
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you.
Rohan.
I like
you like our little pictures.
I guess like
Yeah.
I need to take some drawing classes.
No, these are perfect. These are perfect.
They're
Don't-
funny. They're funny. So and they caption what we needed it for.
Yeah.
And then let's just move to our tips for future
Tips for
racers.
future racers.
You want to start?
I will start. I kind of mentioned this after we left the roadblock.
Just give me a shout out here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I kind of mentioned this after we left the roadblock. That the pit stop, I feel like, is always going to be somewhere scenic, right? If you feel like it's going to be hidden, it's most likely going to be somewhere that like Phil is standing at like in front of a iconic.
Think about it. You're
museum.
watching it from the couch. What do you want to see?
Yeah, what do you want to see, or what are the producers trying to like showcase? Right, they're like in front of a giant Buddhist, statue.
I mean, we saw it with Emily and Molly on the first leg of like 2 seasons ago. It's like they were thinking ahead on what was like a place.
Yeah, like a highlighted landmark or just like a beautiful landscape. And that's kind of what this was. It was like on the top of the hill. It was overlooking this beautiful lake, or I guess it was a river, or is it a lake?
It was
I don't know, body of water. Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of what it was. And if you look back at the other 2 things as well, like Casa Kimberly, that's like an iconic spot.
Yeah.
Los
just like Los
Arcos,
Arcos in the
like
Malecón,
that's
yeah,
an
that's
also
super.
like iconic spot. Like, so the pit stops, I feel like, are going to be
really
probably
pretty.
these pretty iconic places.
That is a great tip because like I was not thinking on that, and I think just we put it on our notes for the next leg, and like that made it to our notes. As for my tip for future racers, and it was that we did some training. Yes, and I'm gonna go back to that clicker. We trained for the race. You cannot really train much because
well, you can train.
I mean, you can train for whatever. Like we did puzzles with,
but you can just keep training because you'll never
you never
be
know.
prepared.
You never know what is gonna happen. First of all, like the stress and everything else. But what I'm gonna mention here on gadgets, we try to pack as light as possible. But something that I realized while I was training, as I mentioned, was doing 1,600 steps, 30 minutes, just counting up, is that I was doing it like listening to podcasts, like of course, like recap podcasts, like trying to get ready, and just or listening to music, and like that made my half an hour go extremely fast. At some point during my trainings, I was like, well, during the race, we won't have headphones, like we won't have music, like we will just have ourselves. So I realized easily, like with the clicker, that was a distraction. That actually my exhaustion wasn't focused because I was focusing on like every step making a click, and sometimes I would skip a click, and I was like, oh well, like I have to focus even more.
Yeah.
So knowing that and seeing the stairs and have myself prepared for stairs and not Ricky, because you did the stairs.
I mean, I did stairs, but
not
to
as much.
Not
so I was like,
level.
you know what, like take the clicker, count the steps, focus on that, and focus all your energy on making sure that you don't miss a step. And I think that, and you can
it really
tell, like,
did help because I was, my body was just doing what it needed to do.
And he was just keeping a rhythm.
I was just worried about my breathing and the click, and my legs just like.
So I think that helped us a lot. So train, pack what you think you need, but if you're training, start using those gadgets. Make sure that if you have a compass, practice with the compass. If you like that, you actually know how to use a compass.
Yeah.
If you have like an alarm clock, make sure that you know how to work the alarm clock. If you have binoculars, like start practicing how to adjust the focus and all of that. Anyways, that's my tip for future racers. Make sure that whatever gadgets you pack, you have trained with those, you know how to use them, and you know, like yeah, you know, like what ins and outs are gonna help you with that. So yeah, I mean, those are pretty much our future racers. Then we wanted to share something else right now, like for everyone, we do have an Instagram account for everything.
If you guys want to follow us on Instagram, we're at Ricky and Cesar. We just try to post some stuff about the race,
something funny, something fun,
just,
and
so
what we're up to, pretty much, and all of that. So far, this has been really, really cool experience. We're really excited about next week. Let's see what happens in Medellin, Colombia. The trailers look really cool. The promos look really nice. It's getting tighter and tighter, and we're getting exhausted, more exhausted.
But it's gonna be an interesting leg. I feel like the determination and the intensity from all of the racers has like increased. You can see it from the dream team, Amber and Vinny, that like, and they're like, the determination has kicked up.
And I think at this point, everyone, like we have the chance actually to know the strengths of the other teams, and like having those dynamics on like, well, like I need to start moving up on the rankings, and for us trying to stay there. We'll see what happens. So for now, like next Wednesday, let's watch it. Next Sunday, we're gonna try to do again. Like we're gonna try to be better with the timing. We might still be traveling, but for now, that's
we'll let you guys know.
That's it for a recap. So if you like it, like the video. If you want to see more, subscribe. And we hope.
If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll try and maybe answer them our next live.
We hope you like it. We hope you're enjoying this. We hope you're learning something like from the behind the scenes, a little bit more of our experience. Again, we mentioned other teams, but pretty much we're trying to focus on how it went for us, what we learned from it, and like if we can help a future racer along the way, why not? So we will see you next week. Subscribe again. I don't know. I don't know. Great. What else you say here?
All right.
Thank you for everyone that joined live. Thank you for everyone that is watching later on. And we will see you soon.
Enjoy your night. Bye.
Bye.